Well, here we are. First time alone without my cohort Tay. What up? Ren here on the pup list. I'm going to try to do my best Chris Berman impression. The fastest 10 minutes in the week that was. We had another week of training camp and we had family night on Saturday. And what a family night it was. The first time the Packer brass finally listened to all of Packer Universe and finally stream this thing to all of us out there anywhere we wanted it. So good on you, Packer Brass. You finally listened after all these years. But news and notes up front here today, and today is Monday, August the 5th. So today, a couple of quick hits. No practice today, no practice yesterday on Sunday as well after family night, and it was a pretty successful family night, as we'll get into here in the coming moments. But we had a couple interesting things here today. We had the Jacob Eason release, which is obviously going to give Michael Pratt and Sean Clifford some more playing time, which we all appreciate. Obviously, Jacob Eason was brought in. Matt LaFleur actually did recruit him when he was at Notre Dame. I believe his father played at Notre Dame as well. And Matt had some nice things to say that Jacob did everything asked of him while in practice, obviously brought in while Jordan still hadn't had the contract signed. So that is one anecdote from today. Additionally, those fun things we get throughout the course of training camp is that prior to game day, the opening game day in Green Bay this year, which will be against the Indianapolis Colts, the day before, they're going to have the Counting Crows. I mean, for me, not a bad pick, which is going to be kind of the northwest end of Lambeau Field, kind of closer to Titletown, right across the street. They're going to be rocking out at 5 p.m. In the parking lot again on September the 14th. According to my friend, Rob Demoski, this week finally will mark the return of Zach Tom to his familiar right tackle position, which I know they've kind of been a revolving door. Rashawn Gary has liked to walk through said door through the opening few weeks of training camp. A lot of different guys there, and none of them had a lot of success like we know that Zach can have at that position and lock it down and get us the best starting five that we're looking for. So again, today, Rob Demoski reports that he will be there, as well as Tucker Kraft will begin limited practice this week as well. So a couple anecdotes in an off day here on the 5th. But the big thing is, how do we recap last week and then Saturday night? Obviously, Rashawn Gary, he's the winner of the week. He's the winner of training camp so far. Just essentially has dominated throughout. That's what we want to see. A year clean from that ACL and finally just feeling his feels. And he has just been the guy. I don't care who it is, who you talk to, what's going on in Packer Universe. Rashawn Gary is, at least at this point, living up to the billing and ready to eat in the 2024 season. Just killing it on family night. And that's all you can ask for. I mean, he was dominant against anybody and everybody on family night. And the other standout family night is Romeo Doubs, who also last week was a standout. On family night, doesn't matter. Consistently, quietly having the best camp of all those wide receivers. And it's hard to pick, who's going to be the number one, who's going to be the number two. In this offense, it really doesn't matter. But Romeo has had massive high praise from Jordan Love, from Josh Jacobs, who came in, equating to him to basically the best receiver outside of Devontae Adams that he's had the ability to team with throughout his 4 years in the NFL. So heady praise, and Romeo just continues to do it. Doesn't matter if it was Eric Stokes, doesn't matter if it's Keyshawn Nixon, Jair Alexander. He could not be stopped on family night. Didn't matter what position he ran from. He was dominating, and he dominated the week of last week leading up to family night and has consistently on offense put together the best training camp of anybody on offense thus far. So heady praise for Rashawn Gary and Romeo Doubs, who, if anybody had to vote at this point, you'd have to say those are your two MVPs of training camp up to this point. Other anecdotes from family night, obviously Javon Bullard making plays as a true safety. Still haven't really seen that whole slot thing. Still kind of points to, hey, I'm going to be a guy that is going to get in the mix. I mean, there's been nice things said about Evan Williams too. I mean, this rookie class looks pretty solid from what Brian was able to put together. I mean, no, we don't have everything in on Jacob Monk or Travis Glover, and obviously Tyron Hopper. Some nice things have been said, still coming along. But overall, a pretty consistent draft class thus far for Brian's 2024 draft class. One of the bigger things, as we knew there'd be training camp battles, and some of those we'd point to in the 2024 camp were going to be backup quarterback. We know that. Still a little unsettled there. It's going to be fun to watch, see if Michael does earn, the piece over Sean, who we know has had a bit of a struggle, been on the struggle bus a little bit with regard to training camp, and Pratt, I know, had some nice balls on family night. So we'll continue to watch that thing progress as training camp continues. One of those other pieces has really been the offensive line. That was going to be the piece that all of us are kind of looking to for consistency through training camp. Where does it end up? But it really appears that this thing's been pretty much the same milquetoast thing, day to day throughout camp with Walker, Jenkins, Myers, Morgan, and then at this point, Dillard, Telfort, and Jones on that right end. But obviously, once Zach gets back, that's kind of his to reclaim, as we all know. It seems like Jordan Morgan really has the leg up on Sean Ryan, which you got to love to see. I mean, you spent series draft capital in the first round on a super talent. And no, I know some people think, well, it's not a tackle. To me, it doesn't matter. If he is one of your best five, you got to fit him in. You got to use that talent and put him where he fits best at this point in time. Doesn't mean he won't be a right tackle, a left tackle, a left guard, a right guard. Who knows? But it appears that, right now, when we break going to Brazil, that, Jordan Morgan is going to be the right guard, and that's great. So feeling good about that. That's a good place to start him, and we'll go from there. I never really thought, honestly, after Rasheed Walker's second half of the 2023 season that he would be unseated. I mean, even David Bakhtiari had great praise for Rasheed Walker, and I see a consistent left tackle piece there with him. And why move him at this point? It wouldn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. Over the last week as well, Jordan Love kind of get back in the mix, kind of up and down. He had up and down family night as well. His deep ball, one thing last year we did not feel real confident about, I think, Packer Universe, was that Jordan's deep ball wasn't great. But through training camp thus far, the deep ball has been not the question. It's been some of those quick reads. They haven't had much of a screen game, and that's just due to some injuries this last week and throughout the start of training camp. The injury that we can point to is the hamstring. It's the consistent piece. New training staff, I think they're being really, really careful with the hamstrings. Just don't want to get it to a point where these guys are going to be out for multiple weeks at a time. So they're just being really, really extra careful when it comes to these hammies. And you can't blame them, really. It's training camp after all, folks. But Jordan at family night, shoot, man, and the drill stuff, amazing. Deep balls, amazing. Heard some not so great stuff. Unfortunately, I was not able to take it all in, but did see some of that stuff after the fact. Again, love that they did put that out there for all the universe to see on the streaming finally. knowing that the Olympics were going to be on. This thing normally be on NBC 26, and it was on a sister station, and that anybody could go to Packers.com and watch that thing. But yeah, Jordan was throwing some stuff over the middle that in a game style situation to Christian Watson could have got him killed. So you don't want to see that with your primary deep ball threat with as far as speed is concerned. Obviously, it's a family night, so they're working on things. He's just feeling himself, throwing things out. They know nobody's going to blast anybody. Nothing's going to happen, but still dangerous throws that you don't want to ever put any of your guys in that position. So I'm sure it's just kind of a, hey, let's work on this stuff, see what it looks like. Nothing to be afraid of at this point, but they got to certainly work on the middle of the field and certainly the screen game as training camp progresses, as they get closer and closer to Brazil, which is a matter of 3 weeks away, guys. I mean, 3.5. I mean, what are we doing? We're just, saying one versus the other, but it's around the corner. Eric Stokes continues and did last week to, he was my comeback player of the year pick. He continues to show that, hey, another pick last week. I think it's 3 or 4 already on the training camp season, that he's ready to ball out and play. I mean, technically he is in the final year of his contract. If he has a great season, well, the Packers might not feel so great about not picking up that 5th-year option, but hey, we'll be better for it. Obviously, another guy that's, really fighting for some stuff is Kalen King. Did some really nice things, got beat a little bit, family night, but you know what? Because Valentine is not out there, hammy. Again, consistent thing through training camp is these hammies, but hey, he's fighting for it. He's scratching, he's fighting, he's doing a heck of a lot of great things. That's what you like to see. Maybe another steal in the 7th round. We talked about him and Pratt being, some of those favorite picks and some of those great picks late in the draft. And he is scratching and doing everything possible to make this roster as as one of that defensive backfield pieces are concerned. Obviously, the big thing, family night, was this young kid, Trace Ramirez. He was the talk of family night. Everybody by now in the universe will see it. He's back there, catching these punts on the jugs machine. We know that Jair can only catch 2 of 3. This young kid is out there catching them, not only catching them, but holding every one he catches. And he catches 1, holds the ball, catches 2, holds ball 2, comes up, number 3, catches that ball with the other 2 balls in his hands, and the whole unit goes nuts. He's surrounded by Jordan Love and crew, and they go nuts. And that's what makes Green Bay so darn special. 60, 70,000 people in the stands, sold out. And that kid will have a memory for the rest of his life. And that is what makes being a Packer fan so freaking fantastic, is when you see things like that. That is just incredible stuff. We saw the return last week of Peter Bowden back to press for that long snapper piece. So with Matt Orzech. So we'll see if that ends up being a camp battle, is one my cohort Tay and I did talk about in the offseason. We thought kind of the main pieces would be backup quarterback, long snapper. What will that O-line shake out to be? And, hey, it's the Packer 2024 training camp season, so we cannot not talk about the kicker position. I actually was asked a question from a fan. Did I really believe Anders was at risk of losing his job? And up until last week, I would have said absolutely not. Had a bit of a rough Thursday, missing 3 kicks, and suddenly Greg Joseph, the longtime vet, is looking solid, not missing much, 90+% of his kicks. And you wondered going into family night in Lambeau Field, not at Nitschke, is that going to stick in his head? Is he going to start to falter? Are we going to see Greg really maybe make a push, honestly, legitimately, for this kicker position? And what we could say is both kickers kicked very well at family night, with Anders making 9 of 10 and Greg making 8 of 10. So still got a kicking competition. You would think still with the capital the Packers have spent on Anders, that if he consistently continues to kick well, got that little hiccup out of the way this week, he should still be the kicker based on that leg, based on, again, the draft capital moving forward and the inconsistency throughout the career of one Greg Joseph, who has had kind of a little up and down here at most of his stops in the NFL. Last week was also praise week. Matt LaFleur was laying on pretty thick from anybody from Anthony Johnson Jr. also having a nice camp. Quote unquote, Matt LaFleur, he's had an outstanding camp up to this point. I think it's a very competitive situation at safety. He's learned a ton. He's made a huge jump in his eyes. He's got to go out and do it against some live bullets in terms of preseason games. It'll be interesting to see how he does, but Matt is excited for him, if I can speak. TJ Slaton, the big run stuffer, also in a contract year. Matt had to say, I think TJ's had an outstanding camp. Quite frankly, he surprised us in some ways. His ability to get off the ball, wreck double teams, whatever it may be, he's done a really nice job. Really excited to see how he's progressed. You never quite know how one guy is going to transition to a certain style of defense, but he's done a really great job. So great to hear as they obviously 3-4-4-3, and that thing has been flipped around with regard to Jeff Hafley. And also, hey, the new team leader, talking about the Counting Crows earlier, Mr. Jones. We no longer have our Mr. Jones, but we do have our Mr. Jacobs, and heavy, heavy praise from Matt. He can do anything. He's hard-nosed. I can't wait to see the first exposure from him getting hit, which will probably be week 1. Obviously, we hope so. No hammy issues. He told NFL Network, he's a guy just watching him from afar. You always respect. You hear about it, what a great character guy he is, what a great locker room guy he is. And to see that firsthand, I've been amazed by him. Not me, but Matt LaFleur. So pretty great things. Huge praise. It was the week of praise, obviously, from Matt LaFleur. But really, this team, there's not a lot of things, guys, that you go, wow, this isn't going right at all outside of the backup quarterback piece. We'll see if they maybe need a vet down the road. But it'll be fun to watch that competition, especially as we get to preseason coming up this week, their first game in Cleveland. That's going to be fun. I know there's a practice tomorrow on Tuesday, one on Thursday, and one on Wednesday, one on Thursday, a day off on Friday, and then they'll head to Cleveland for that first go-around in the preseason. So I'm really looking forward to, I don't know about you guys, but watching Anders kick in live game situations, watching Greg kick, watching Sean and Matt do their thing, and see who really kind of takes this thing over and vies for that backup quarterback piece. So really looking to a great week of practice. I look forward to hearing from all the Packer beat out there and what they see on the ground when I won't be able to be there myself. Just love being a Packer fan, taking this stuff in. But really, hey, guys, through the first 2.5 weeks of training camp, not a whole lot to complain about. We see a solid football team with an inked quarterback ready to go, looking good. The youngest team ever to have won a playoff game last year, just building on that success. So until next time on the pup list later in the week with just Ren, my apologies. I appreciate it. Out, Ren.